Idea of cheat codes. I first stumbled upon the idea of cheat codes a few years ago, right at a moment when I felt worn down by the daily grind. I called them cheat codes, but in reality, they were just a set of mental and spiritual practices: affirmations, creative visualization, wealth mindset study, and lucid dreaming. I'd begun exploring them almost on a whim, thinking it couldn't hurt to try something new. These were the sorts of activities that people sometimes dismiss as woo or magical thinking, but I was desperate enough to give them a shot. I remember devouring books on the law of attraction, positive thinking, and the power of visualization. I even dabbled in dream journaling, trying to become more aware of my inner world when I was asleep. The results, to my pleasant shock, were substantial. Within a matter of months, my income shot up by nearly 50%. It wasn't purely because of cosmic forces making checks float into my mailbox. Instead, the process of daily affirmations and visualizations seemed to shift my mindset in ways that influenced my choices. I'd walk into salary negotiations feeling more self-assured, more confident in my own value. That confidence likely bled into how my bosses perceived me. I also started exploring some side hustles with more enthusiasm, taking small but decisive steps that previously would have seemed intimidating. Soon enough, I saw real changes in my finances. I also found the backbone to face an ongoing legal dispute with a lawyer who had threatened me with something that felt borderline frivolous, yet scary. I'd dreaded that battle for months, but my new mental regimen had me waking up each morning envisioning myself winning, or at least coming out unscathed. And I did. Without going into the gory details, let's just say the matter resolved in my favor, and I didn't have to fork out a dime. Another big shift. My credit score nearly doubled. Of course, that wasn't magic either. It was a result of more conscious spending and more strategic bill paying, habits that blossomed partly because my affirmations encouraged me to adopt a wealth mindset. It felt as if I'd found some magical levers in my brain that I could pull, altering my behavior, and by extension, my reality. Looking back, I see how my beliefs were shaping my actions, and those actions were generating results. To me, it felt like skipping large chunks of the typical slog of trial and error, which is why I jokingly labeled these practices. In the midst of it, I felt unstoppable, like I'd cracked some secret code to existence. Life was rolling, wins piling up. But, as often happens, I eventually crashed into an obstacle. That obstacle came in the form of a home refinance. Initially, it seemed like another triumph. Having my mortgage interest rate felt like an epic win. Why pay so much interest if I could cut it down? But I overlooked how the loan restructuring also added an extra $300 per month to my monthly payments. Maybe my excitement blurred out the finer details. Meanwhile, the cost of living around me crept upward, about 19% over a few years, due to inflation and a host of other economic factors. My once comfortable finances started to feel tight again, and it wasn't long before I found myself in the dreaded paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. Credit cards became my fallback for covering gaps, and my savings started to feel dangerously thin. Such a swift reversal can be soul-crushing. I went from feeling like a powerful creator of my reality, commanding the universe in partnership with my own newly formed success habits, to feeling like a hapless grunt laboring for scraps. I was working 52 hours a week, commuting another 10 hours, coming home exhausted, and then staring at bills. I'd slip under the covers each night wondering, how did it come to this? Where did all my momentum go? My mind spiraled into self-blame. Had I not tried hard enough? Had I not believed strongly enough in my affirmations or listened to the right wealth mindset gurus? That negativity fed on itself. My daily routine started to devolve into autopilot. I'd get up in a funk, skip morning affirmations, eat a lackluster breakfast, and trudge to work. In the evening, I'd retreat to the couch with TV or social media, ignoring my once precious dream journal. Weekends weren't much better. Depression seeped in, making me question the point of any future ambitions. The optimism I once cherished turned murky, replaced by a haze of self-doubt. It's easy in that state to forget all the small things that had gone right. For a while, I let myself sink, but eventually, desperation can circle back to motivation. A few days ago, maybe from reading an inspirational quote or recalling how good life had felt when I was actively practicing my cheat codes, I decided enough is enough. The renewed cost of living wasn't going to vanish overnight, nor would my mortgage magically drop, but I could at least change how I thought, how I approached my day. So I pulled out my old affirmations notebook, dusted off some sticky notes of success mantras, and started reminding myself of the power that had once fueled me. I read a few pages of a personal development book each morning, and jotted down a quick affirmation or two in a journal. I set the intention to remember my dreams again. Before drifting off at night, I gave myself a gentle suggestion. I will remain aware and receptive in my dreams. I am open to insights. It all felt a bit forced at first, like exercising rusty muscles. But I clung to the memory of how effective it had been before. That leads me to the treadmill. Physical exercise had always been part of my earlier success routine, albeit a neglected piece. The synergy between mental shifts and physical activity had done wonders for my mood. So I decided to do some basic cardio. 30 minutes on a treadmill listening to a lecture about thoughts and manifestation. Classic me, right? I'm partway through my session, about 10 minutes in, when my mind starts wandering. The lecture is discussing how every reality is shaped by our mental states. How small shifts in thought can lead to tangible changes in life circumstances. Maybe it's the endorphins swirling in my bloodstream. But suddenly, a random idea pops into my head. Sell your trashy old car. I nearly stumble on the treadmill. Sell my car. It's this battered vehicle I've held onto, mostly out of sentimentality and the sense that I might need it if my current car has issues. But it does cost me. Registration fees, occasional insurance, the risk of it just sitting there rotting. Over the last year, it's become more of a financial liability than a backup plan. I reasoned that if I sell it, even for a modest sum, I'd get rid of an unnecessary monthly burden. That might free up a few $100, or it might remove the worry of a possible future mechanical crisis. The idea felt so random, but also strangely logical. So after my workout, I came home, took out my phone, and started checking blue book values. Some of the numbers looked more promising than I'd expected. I could possibly make a few $1,000s if I made some minor repairs first. So I started searching for the parts needed. Basic stuff like new spark plugs, replacement hoses, a fresh battery, maybe some cheap cosmetic fixes. In the midst of that research, I realized the site required details about the engine, like whether it was a certain model or a specific horsepower rating. So I decided to pop outside and check under the hood. I'm not usually super handy with cars, but I know my way around a dipstick in an engine label. I walk over, unlatch the hood, and lift it. I'm expecting the usual: a dusty engine, some worn belts, maybe some evidence of slight fluid leaks. But what I see is a bigger problem. My oil cap is gone, totally missing. In its place, there's just an open hole. Black-brown oil is splattered around the opening, as though it had been shaking and sloshing while the engine was running. My heart drops. If I'd hopped in that car with no cap, who knows how fast the engine might have hemorrhaged oil while driving. Oil over the engine can be a serious fire hazard, especially if it drips onto hot components, or if the engine overheats, or if I'd driven it too far, the engine might have seized up for lack of lubrication. That's a repair that could cost more than the car is even worth. One short drive could have spelled the end for that car, turning it from a potential source of money into a worthless chunk of metal. And if the car caught fire, it might have put my own life at risk, not to mention other people on the road. But ironically, I only lifted that hood because I got an intuitive nudge while on the treadmill. Something about selling the car, checking the details, needing to confirm the engine specs. If I'd stayed depressed in bed, my brain swirling with negativity, or if I'd just come straight home and flopped on the couch, I'd never have discovered the missing oil cap. The next time I attempted to drive that vehicle, maybe just to move it or show it to a prospective buyer, I could have wrecked the engine entirely. Reflecting on it, that chain of events feels uncanny. It started with me forcing myself onto the treadmill, specifically to jumpstart my endorphins and reintroduce a positive mental atmosphere. While in that receptive frame of mind, I was listening to a talk about the power of thoughts, which fueled me to consider big or small solutions I hadn't given any energy to. Out of that mental swirl came the notion: sell the old car. You don't need it. It's draining resources. A perfectly logical, albeit sudden, directive. That decision in turn led me to consult the Blue Book site, which demanded engine details. And that forced me to physically go open the hood, a minor act that proved to be critical for my car's survival. Sometimes you get these little glimpses into how a seemingly random train of thought can save you hundreds or thousands of dollars, or even spare you from a dangerous situation. It's enough to make me wonder, how often do we miss out on such life-saving or money-saving signals because we're buried in hopelessness or inertia? In the grand scheme, yes, finding a missing oil cap is no miracle. You could chalk it up to pure chance. Maybe it was bound to happen eventually. But to me, it's a timely demonstration of why reactivating my cheat code practices is so valuable. When I'm depressed, locked into autopilot, I fail to see solutions. I also fail to see looming disasters. It's like driving through life in a fog, There might be potholes or giant sinkholes ahead, and I'm just trudging forward obliviously. However, the moment I choose to shift my energy, listen to an uplifting lecture, reaffirm my goals, do a little cardio, adopt a daily dose of optimism, my awareness expand. I spot potential issues before they blow up. I also spot potential opportunities that could lighten my financial or emotional burdens. That's what I used to love about those cheat codes. The sense that life didn't have to be an unyielding sequence of drudgery. There were secret doorways or Easter eggs that, once discovered, made the game more enjoyable. And at times, easier. It's funny how quickly we forget that sense of possibility. When I was in my slump, old me would have rolled my eyes at the suggestion that a single workout session and a random lecture could spark a chain reaction. Old me would have said, "Sure, keep hoping. Meanwhile, your bills are stacking up." But it only took one small act, one pivot in my daily routine, to yield an immediate benefit that saved me from a potentially bigger setback. The difference between depression-fueled autopilot and a conscious, mindful approach is staggering. Now, I'm not naive. I know that the cost of living isn't about to plummet tomorrow just because I found my oil cap situation in time. My mortgage still demands that extra $300. My credit cards haven't magically zeroed out. But I take this experience as a reminder that these cheat codes or mindset tools can bring real advantages. They help me stay alert to solutions I might have overlooked and prevent me from making mistakes born of inattention or apathy. I also think about how I can apply this spark to other areas of my life. Maybe I need to do the same with my finances at large. Open the metaphorical hood, see if there's a missing cap that's letting resources leak out. Could be an overlooked subscription fee, or a difference in insurance rates I never bothered to compare. Or maybe it's an untapped income stream I once fantasized about but never acted on. All it takes is a fresh perspective, the willingness to investigate, and the mental clarity that arises when I'm not drowning in negativity. So here I am, back to practicing my little cheat codes. Journaling, dream work, positivity mantras, awareness during that drowsy, hypnagogic state. With each day, I try to do something that keeps my mental environment less cluttered by gloom. A short meditation, a walk, a single chapter of an uplifting book. I no longer see these things as optional luxuries. They're more like essential maintenance. Much like how your car needs an oil cap, my mindset needs these consistent practices to prevent slow leaks of motivation and hope. The car fiasco, narrowly averted, is now a milestone memory. It affirms that even in the face of big challenges, like inflation, mortgage stress, or the inertia of depression, small steps taken in the right direction can pay off quickly. And while I can't promise instant fixes, I can say that each moment of awareness, each small re-engagement with positivity or clarity, offers a chance to rewrite the narrative of my day. That's all I need sometimes. A reminder that I'm not powerless, that there are hidden threads in life I can pull to unravel the tangle I'm in. Maybe that's the heart of what I once referred to as cheat codes. They're not magical solutions or guaranteed lottery wins. They're triggers for heightened awareness, positivity, and forward momentum. They open me to new ideas, reawaken the part of me that senses a path forward, and set in motion a series of constructive decisions. Sure, the cost of living is still high, and I'm still grappling with a bigger monthly mortgage payment. But thanks to a random treadmill epiphany, I might soon sell a car that's draining my wallet, and I didn't blow up the engine in the process. And if that's not some form of cheat code, I don't know what is.